Oh, right. I'm going to talk about owning a studio. I haven't done a video about this yet, and it's been. I don't think I've. I should have gone through my videos. I don't know. I don't think I've made a video about owning a studio yet. So, I thought it'd be good thing to chat about because a lot of people are either thinking about it or closing studios nowadays, and the people who are my friends who own studios. I've heard their trials and tribulations throughout the year. So maybe if you're thinking of starting, opening a studio, maybe this can help. Let me give you my experience. So in the beginning, before I opened a studio, I worked in a lot of other studios, and all I could think of, they weren't always great. All I could think about was, I want to do one where, I run it the way I would like to be treated as an artist. My main push to open a studio was the fact that I had two kids, and I was travelling quite far to the studio I was working in before. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to open a studio nearby? And I was lucky enough to have a friend who wanted to invest in opening. So we kind of went in together and opened it that way. So I had a vision of how I wanted it to be. Did it go to plan how I envisioned a studio to be? I'd say yeah, it actually did. It was a lot harder than I thought it'd be but that was in the long game. At the beginning, I was having quite a good time. There was a lot of work to be done, but it was enjoyable. I was learning as I was running the studio. I was excited, so I was happy to be involved and get these things done. As time went on, it got harder, which I wasn't expecting. That was a big surprise. I thought it would get a bit easier, like your business would settle in place and you'd have a bit of savings on the side. But I wasn't expecting the fluctuations within the tattoo industry. Because as an artist, you don't see it. As a business owner in the industry, you see it more. You see the fluctuations more. You're more susceptible to them things. Emotionally as well and mentally, you start noticing them traits, and they worry you more. Whereas you're just an artist, you can kind of like go between studios and find one that works for you. If a studio's not working for you while you're there, you can move along. And as a studio owner, as an artist as well, that's worrying because I can't do that. So I need to make the studio work. I haven't got the option to fleet in between studios. I can go guest and stuff like that, but it'd be kind of weird if I owned a studio and then I started working somewhere else and left everyone else to deal with it. So yeah, it was, I think, in terms of the dream versus reality, it went how I wanted it to go, but how I wanted it to go made it harder work. If that makes sense? So like, I definitely, if you was thinking of opening a studio, I definitely talk to a lot of people before and say, ask them that question. What was your intentions before you opened compared to how it actually was? Because I do wonder how many people will say it was better. I don't think I could ever say it was better. It was because you just don't know, do you? You're going into unfamiliar territory. So yeah, that's a difficult one. Balancing the art and business. So I'm an artist as well. I have to work, but then also I have to run. So over the years, I've delegated a lot. I've hired managers. I've kind of said, this is how I want the business to run. Can you help? And I've given them like a set of objectives. They're tasks that they have to do. And it involves the boring shit like cleaning and stocking up things, but also involves running the shop. If you do that right, then you can still concentrate on your own artwork. Obviously, it's still your business, so you are still in the background running things. But to delegate the work out, I think is the most sensible thing to do, because then you can concentrate a bit more on the art and working yourself. And this is, if you're not, let's say you were an artist, you opened a tattoo studio, then you backed off and you're literally just a business owner, then it doesn't matter as much because you can spend time getting that right. Whereas, I'm still tattooing, I still want to tattoo. So I needed to delegate, otherwise I would have no time. Recently, I've actually stepped back from tattooing a bit just because it's just no good for my back. And so now I'm managing again. So I'm going to be interested to see how I can keep up with that, because I'm going to be doing the cleaning and the emails and the orders and stuff like all that jazz. One thing I wish I did was learn a bit more about how businesses actually work before I got into opening the business. Silly, right? I should have done that, and I didn't. I kind of just dived in, thought I'm going to learn this, and I did. I learned it as I was going, but it definitely holds you back from becoming, from the business, from becoming the success that you want it to be, because you're spending so much time learning, and you make a lot of mistakes whilst learning, which I don't mind doing because you learn from mistakes, but a lot of their mistakes could have been avoided if I'd put a bit more time into learning business before I opened. So it's definitely worth looking into before you open a studio. And I would say, instead of just going on YouTube, typing like, how do I run a small business, or ChatGPT or something like that, instead of doing that, I'd talk to other artists, you know, because tattoo studios, they're a different kind of nature. They're a different breed of business. So I'd definitely like put a bit of time in talking to some people. But yeah, for sure, delegation and some pre-learning will go a long way to running a shop, 100%. How do I create an atmosphere that makes clients comfortable in a studio? So when you're opening a studio, you want to think about that. That's a big thing to think about, because from the moment they walk through the door to get tattooed, if they don't feel comfortable, they probably won't come back. Or at least they won't want to come back. Or at the very minimum, they will kind of talk about how the studio's, you know, uncomfortable to be in, uncomfortable to be tattooed in. So you've got to think about that, because they're the most important person. As much as having a lot of decent artists is great for business, if you ain't got customers, you ain't got business. So you want to make it comfortable in there. How do I create that? How do I create an atmosphere that is comfortable? Let's start from the front of the shop. Now, this is where I struggle. So at the beginning, we had a front desk. We had quite a tall front desk. So when you're walking through a studio, and I remember this from when I was younger and I got my first tattoos, it is very daunting to walk in a tattoo studio. You've got all these like rough looking tattoo artists, you know, even if they're not actually rough. Very confident people wearing lots of art looks up at you, because the door goes, especially in a small studio like mine. My studio is not big in the slightest. So I've created a tall table. So when a person walks in, that's the first thing they see. They walk into this big desk. At least then they've got this barrier between them, but they're in the studio. So they're already there, they're waiting to talk, and then someone stands up, hi, can I help you? Great, but it meant because I had a small studio, I was sacrificing an area for a bed. Flash forward 6-7 years, we got rid of that and made another bed. Now I have the problem where someone walks in, everyone looks up, and as we don't have a manager, a permanent manager in the studio, everyone looks up and that person's just standing there. Instinctively, I want to get up and talk to them, so I do. Unless someone else has already said hello and they're chatting to them, I will try and make an effort to get up, walk over to them, talk to them, so I'm in front of them. So you're getting rid of that, you know, you don't want to shout across the studio, but you're removing that empty space between the two of you. You're going over and talking to them. So yeah, from the start, that's something you've got to think about, is them coming through the door. That is the main point, especially for someone who's walking in or just chatting and stuff. That first thing they feel is something that they'll walk away with and chat to their friends about. Oh, I walked in there, I felt a bit awkward because everyone's just staring at me. Don't let that happen. Just get up there and go talk to them. Once they're in the studio and getting tattooed and stuff, I love having stuff on the walls, and I've had a lot of customers mention, you know, it's so nice they get to look at this, all this stuff everywhere. We have music playing all the time. Silence can make things awkward. So you have a nice bit of music, stuff all over the walls, things to talk about, and just kind of a friendly atmosphere. Which is a lame answer there, but do you know what I mean? Like, there's only one thing I tell artists when they start working at the studio. My rule is, treat your customers with respect and don't be late for them. So just, that's it. And obviously, pay your cut, but whatever. Treat the customers in the studio with respect. Don't be late for the customers. And just, you know, involve yourself with them. Like, don't treat them like a customer, if you know what I mean. Treat them like they're important to you. You want to put your effort into your clients. So yeah, we have there's a lot of talking. We offer out teas and coffees, and when there's snacks about, we offer out that stuff. And a general day of tattooing in Moth and Flame, everyone's chatting and we're all laughing. The studio's quite small, so we get that. But having nothing on the wall and having like dead silence, and it's just a bit naff for the artists. Obviously, you want to naff for the client. Sorry, it's pretty crap. Obviously, there's some really obvious ones, like you're going to keep the place clean and tidy. You don't want it to be a mess when you get in there. By the end of each day, it's a bit of a mess. Everyone's put their stuff in places and stuff's moved around and stuff. But then you just clean up after yourselves and make it clean for the next day. But I think our main thing is that the first couple of minutes they walk through the door, that's one of the main things. Sitting there, fill out a consent form, make them feel comfortable. You can't avoid the fact they're going to be in pain, so I'm not even going to try and help with that. But make sure they realise, that if they need a break, they can get up and have a break. They want to go and get a snack, they can get up and have a snack. We don't have set times for things. People can turn up early if they want. They can leave a bit later, as long as they talk to the artist. There isn't the shut and close time, open and close time, sorry. So yeah, it's having that environment. And also artists talking to each other over the customers. Obviously it's going to happen. We're all friends, we chat. There has been a few times I've had to have a word with some of the artists about what they say in front of customers, because obviously we might maybe talk inappropriately to each other sometimes, obviously in a jokey way, but not all customers are as desensitized to that kind of language as we might talk to each other. And I'm talking even swearing. Some people, you got an older customer and maybe they just don't like it. They've never met you before. They've never been in the studio. So if you're going to be like, fuck this, and all that shit all over them, then, they might feel a bit uncomfortable. You just got to think about what you say in front of customers, in front of people. You wouldn't do it out in public. You're not going to stand in line at Starbucks and say, oh, my butthole itches, or some shit like that. Not that we say that all the time in the studio, but I mean, it ain't far off how we joke to each other sometimes. So it's definitely worth keeping that at the back of your mind when you're running a studio. You want to keep that atmosphere tame-ish, so a customer is happy to come back. Not every customer has the same mindset as us, or is free and have the same background or whatever. Everyone's different, and you got to kind of read it. At the beginning, it might be a bit quiet in the day, but by the end of the day, you start learning everyone's humour and what people are about. So yeah, it's definitely worth. That's a big thing in the tattoo studio. If your customer's happy to come back and they feel welcome, like that's their place now, then they'll keep coming back and they'll tell their friends, oh, they're such sick guys, they're really nice, they sort you out, and yeah, then they're going to come back. And that's a good building block for a business. If I have any lessons, not lessons, but there's things that I've done wrong. And I think a big one was that I didn't have savings on top of my costs at the beginning of opening a studio. I should have had some money set aside for problems, because you could open a studio and the next thing you know, your front window smashes. Do you know how much expensive it is to get a reinforced glass shop window replaced? It's hundreds. Well, if you don't have that sitting around, it's a lot of money, and you can't have a studio without missing a window. So definitely get what you need, budget for all the costs that you'll need at the beginning of opening, and then add some. Doesn't need to be for anything, just put it in savings for emergencies. 100%. That was one thing I regret not doing, because that savings, you can get it straight away and then you top it up when you need to spend a bit. Whereas it can, trying to save, especially if business is a little bit quiet, trying to save thousands and thousands on the side, it's just really hard. It's really hard to do. So definitely getting a bit of money aside at the beginnings, something I wish I did. Other than that, there's not really any regrets I have about how the studio's run. There's some things I wish I might have done a bit different, but I feel like the majority of time, the main thing you can do is keep on top of stuff, be it through you running or delegating, and be clear that's one of the best things I think, you know, I can pass on, is that be clear to your artists of what you expect from them. You know, if you have strict rules, then you just got to say that strict rules. It don't matter what they think. It's your studio. You've got to put it down. But if they know before they start working there, there's going to be no clashing. I'm quite open. I'm quite easygoing. Now, all I say, like I said before, is don't annoy customers. The obvious ones. Don't steal money. Don't take the piss, and tidy up after yourself. Other than that, come and go as you please. And if you have any problems, just come to me. I don't ever want anyone to feel awkward coming to me about their woes in the studio, about their problems. As in, where do I see the studio in, let's say, the next 10 years? I don't know. I'm actively trying to boost it now. Like, now I'm running the studio and I'm doing the manager stuff. I'm gonna push hard to make it busier for everyone else. More so than my own personal Instagram and my own personal website and my side of the business. The studio is the most important thing, because that's a legacy. That's something I can leave. And the name, I've built up the name. We have built up the name collectively over the last 10 years, and it's becoming quite a recognizable name as a tattoo studio, I think, from what I gather. So I don't have any visions or goals of expanding and stuff like that. It is a lovely idea, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself with that stuff. I just, for now, we're at a point where it's been up and down. There is a few times, I won't lie, where I thought, is this worth it? It is hard. It's definitely not an easy thing. But I always come back to the idea that I want this. I'd much rather have a studio with artists that I like, a place that I can come to and feel comfortable and not feel like I'm treading on someone's toes, than not. I don't think I'd be better off financially working somewhere else, because that cut I'd have to pay to that studio is similar to the money I have to put back into my own studio. So yeah, my visions going forward is just that, to build on what we have already, not anything new separate to Moth and Flame. It's not something that I'm against doing, and I'd love to do it, but just build on Moth and Flame. Do what needs to be done to make it successful there, and make sure that the artists I have want to stay. And even if they don't want to stay, as long as they leave knowing that they had a good time, that will make me happy. I don't have a problem. I haven't got this loyalty thing. If people want to move on, then I'm happy for them. As long as it's respectful and they give me a bit of notice so I can kind of fill that gap, I'm well happy for them. But if someone leaves because they weren't happy in the studio, that would upset me. And I'd want to know why. I wouldn't be angry at them. I'd be upset with myself for them feeling like they had to leave in that way. So yeah, it's, you know what? Owning a studio it's work. It can be enjoyable if you see it as progress. Even the bad parts. It's experiences, it's life, man. You get one chance to live. If things happen that you've never experienced before, being good or bad, then you can learn a lot from them moving forward. You know, I've learned a lot from owning a studio. I've met some amazing people. I've been on some great journeys and had some fucking good laughs along the way. And I would not have changed it for anything. It has stressed me the fuck out as well, so much sometimes. And it's made me feel low, stressed beyond belief. Just putting this out, this are my final thoughts, complete honesty. I've had these thoughts of if it's even worth carrying on, and I always settle on that it is, because the good times are way better than the bad times. So it's worth it, but you have to be prepared to put in the work, and you have to be prepared you have to be prepared. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what I'm talking about now, but yeah, look, I thought I'd put out this video because I've had a lot of friends who are umming and ahhing about keeping the shop open. Some have even closed. Some don't even have one and are thinking of opening one. And I'm like, trying to say, look, this is how it is. Look, just, you know, listen to me. From my experience, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's fucking great shops out there that have been going for 2 years and they're doing better than we are. But I like what we've got. I love the studio. I love the people in there. I love how it's, where it's got to. And I'm excited for the rest. Even if it gets to next year and we lose a shit ton of money and I have to close. Fuck yeah, man, we did it. Moth and Flame was a thing. And it was a good thing. And it will be stuck in people's minds for a long time in their careers. We've had some great artists, and I'm very proud to say that some of them, you know, had only really just started out at the beginning, and now they're doing amazing. And that's not thanks to me, but it's definitely there's definitely like a lot of influence from the team that they had for them years they were at the studio. And I love them, and I think they're great. And I've still talked to all of them. I'm friends with everyone who worked there. You know, we've had some bad times and some awkward ones, but even the ones that we didn't really get on that well, even after they've left, we've still spoke and we'll still see each other. Like still, if we're passing at convention stuff, we'll have a little catch up. There's no bad feelings. So yeah, anyone who's thinking of doing it, just do it, 100% do it, but prepare wisely, okay? All the love, and thank you for watching. I hope I didn't mumble too much about shit. But I love you. And I'll see you later. Good day.